Hello again, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Talk. I am Gracie, your host. Job searching in tech can feel overwhelming, especially with how fast the industry changes. And knowing how to use AI the right way can give you a real advantage from improving your resume to finding better job that matches and learning more efficiently. Today, Lewis Meyers, a Tech Academy graduate and now an AI system developer at sorry, PointClickCare, will share his journey from being a U.S. Army infantryman and a martial artist to building a career in tech. He'll talk about how AI tools help him overcome challenges, break into industry, and continue growing. Make sure you have your notepads, pens, and questions ready because we'll have a Q&A later. And with that, Louis, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Can everyone hear me? You just throw some emojis in the chat, whatever your case may be. Um, but my name is Lewis. I'm happy to be here. And the fact that all of you are here must mean that you probably want to be here too. So I'm a little sick, so please bear with me. My sincerest apologies if I sound like I'm talking out of a pipe. I don't know what happened. I ran to get my son from school, and then where I currently live, I'm from Virginia, but I currently live in Toronto, and I had run to go get him, and my throat froze. So I think that's what sparked it, whatever it is. But my apologies. But I didn't want to jeopardize my commitment, and I really wanted to be here because I graduated from this school. Um, but yeah, so I graduated, I would say about 2 or 3 years ago from the Tech Academy. And if you're looking for some validation as to, should I go to a boot camp or, do I need a boot camp? I've seen all this stuff talking about boot camps, and I'm gonna poll the audience real quick. What kind of answer do you want me to give you? You want me to give you my answer or the answer that you can find online? And you can kind of give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that'll tell me kind of the temperature. All right, cool. Looks like I'm going to give you the answer that you guys want. So when I first got into boot camps, um, it was all about the fact that I have a bad back, and I needed something to do. I did a lot of odd jobs. So I went from the military to working at Lowe's in the garden center to stone masonry to getting deployed again, going overseas, and then things just kind of, I wouldn't say they spiraled out of control, but I just knew, okay, I need to be home. I don't want to be gone again. I went so far as getting ready to join the police academy. So what drove me into tech was the fact that I wanted to be home with my kids. That was my biggest one. I don't know if anybody in the audience can kind of share that same sentiment, be at home with your loved ones, or to the very least, you just want to be home and not around other people. We're kind of in that society now. So this is what prompted all of that for me to make the decision, say, okay, I'm going to go to a boot camp. And so I chose the Tech Academy. The Tech Academy had a relationship with Career Karma, a company that's been recently acquired. But they came in, I got information, then I enrolled, and it was very challenging. To make it more personable, my 3-year-old at the time, he's not 3 anymore, he was kind of like literally at my ankles while I'm in class. And so from my past interactions, they were very patient with me because I turned I think a 6-month course into a 7-month course because it was just way too much. But nonetheless, I graduated. Oh, excuse me. And that netted me an offer. What you'll notice in the space is a lot of companies will, well, at least when I started, they were looking at who's a boot camp grad. We want those who are from non-traditional backgrounds. Specifically, it was United Health Group. And if you're familiar, their CEO got murked on the side of the street. Unfortunate. And so hindsight's 2020. If I had worked there, I don't know what the chaos was like when the CEO passed away. But that was the first company actually even before I graduated the Tech Academy, that was the first company that gave me the offer. But you're saying, but you don't work at United Health Group. What are you saying, person that I think I should probably listen to? It was because they rescinded my offer. And if you're not familiar with the word rescind, that just means, here's your offer. We're going to take it back from you and good luck. So they took it because I'm here in Toronto now. And there was no way for me to actually get back to do everything I needed. It was only remote within the US. My lack of intelligence, my lack of understanding, but it was an offer nonetheless. And so if we fast forward, how did I end up here? You already know I've done martial arts for about 10 years. I was in the infantry for about 6. And now, the world of AI. Before this role, I was doing a lot of free work. Um, yes, I did do contracting. If any of you are looking to get into this field, contracting is a very good uh, path that you should consider. Upwork, Fiverr, platforms of that nature to help get your foot in the door because it gives you some, believe it or not, industry level experience. My first contract was with an individual that lives in downtown Toronto. He has an intelligence firm. He wants his website done, and this came through like a warm connect, somebody that I knew through our children playing. And this is going to bring up one of my first points, but it really helped me to get my feet wet as far as, okay, this is a real person. This person is going to tell me what they do and do not like, but it's also real money because we were coming up late on the rent. So I really had no choice. So I did what I had to do, and then I was able to close this individual, and then we were able to talk about his website and update his website. Um, and so now I guess you can say, what happened after that? What happened is he wanted a lot more stuff, and you'll notice if you start contracting that people will say a lot of things. They'll use AI now and say, hey, this is what I want. Can we do this? Not understanding the proper levels and the proper steps that you're supposed to take to get a full-fledged end-to-end website or application. So I ended up cutting ties, but it kind of worked out because during my job search, let me refer to my notes. During my job search, I use a lot of AI. That's the purpose of this talk, how I use AI to leverage getting a job in December of all times. It started with not just mass applying. So I'll start with this just because it's like sick brains going on. These are the things I would recommend against. Don't mass apply. Now, you've probably been told, like, just easy apply, easy apply, easy apply, easy apply. The market is so different. I can speak from experience because I was just in the market just a few months ago, a couple months ago. Mass applying it's not good. It's not as accurate as you would think. You have to have some strategy. Your resume has to be critiqued. And kind of what does that mean? You need keywords. That's exactly what I mean. Everything I'm telling you is everything I failed at, but then later switched and fixed, and then it landed me the role that I was actually looking for. Not preparing for the interview is one of them as well. Not asking questions. I didn't think that companies wanted to know how much I knew about their product at a deep level until I was asked. I knew they would ask me, hey, what do you know about, so and so, and then I could just give a general answer, and they'd be like, yeah, that's enough. No, but they actually asked me, how much do you know about this company, PointClickCare? And I had an answer, and they liked it. So make sure that you know something about the company. Another thing I would recommend against is having a resume that's pretty. You've probably seen in your experience in the job market that everyone has all sorts of resumes. Recently, I saw a resume that I strongly frown against now. And that's the ones where I used to build these too years ago. You put your picture on it. It looks really nice. The format's nice. The font's nice. You have columns. You have rows. Everything looks well put together. I highly recommend against that because since everything is so digital, I'm not saying go out and burn it, but I am saying that if you submit it digitally, it will not be read digitally the way you think. Because I'm sure I hope everyone is aware of this thing called an applicant tracking system. And if you've been rejected enough like me, you're aware of it and you hate it because it can be super, super biased, specifically if you don't have, one or two keywords placed in the right spot or presented in the correct way. I recommend against resumes like that. So the type of resumes that I would recommend for are your basic Word documents. Just put your name, your city and state, your GitHub, since everyone seems to be in tech in this audience, and then your LinkedIn if you have one, or your handle for whatever social media you have. But at this point, I would like to believe everyone should have a LinkedIn. Um, and I was a proponent for, oh, I was an advocate for no more social media. I couldn't stand it. But leveraged and used the correct way, it could actually really help you. So let's move to the part where I talk about what it is that I do recommend. Strategic applying. So for me, strategic applying, when I was actually applying for these jobs, was, let's see if I can pull it out. You might not be able to see it, but I just thought about this. So this is a note card. It's a note card. You'll see it's a bunch of tally marks on it. This is every job that I've applied to from October 14th of last year until November 21st of last year. So that was just over a month. It took me over a month to land the current job that I'm at now. It took me over a month, and each day varied, but I gave myself a minimum of 10 to 15 jobs. And I had to break it down. This is where I started implementing AI, because I used to use it just to build other projects, side projects with smaller teams, and other startups. But I would use it to kind of help me with a strategy. And so if you're using any LLM, ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, I don't know, DeepSeek kind of fell off the world, or Claude. My favorite is Claude, Anthropic. I would recommend creating a project, so that way none of your chats get lost in your sea of, whatever you're trying to learn or whatever you're searching at the time. And I created this project and I titled it Job Search. And so the strategy I had was 5 roles of just easy apply. Get one of my random resumes, because I have, I don't know, maybe 100 different resumes. Some of them say the same thing, but in different wordings. Use that resume, upload it to LinkedIn, easy apply, 5 to 10 jobs, bang, 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 bang. Just in case I go through the ATS for one of them. And a couple of them I did. And then 5 strategic jobs. What does strategic mean? Strategic means I read the job description. I looked at my resume. I took both. I uploaded it to my project in the LLM I was using. In my case, it was ChatGPT with a combination of Claude. And then I compared the current resume to the job description. And then I asked it to give me recommendations on keywords and what to fix, and not just give it to me, search online, because we know that the LLMs can scrub online. Again, I strongly recommend Claude. They're not paying me to say this, it's just my experience. Use Claude to search online, or ChatGPT, and just prompt it to say, hey, go online and search online for the best keywords to add to my resume. And then thankfully, as the developers keep contributing to their LLMs, they're able to return a PDF or a new resume. So that's what I would do. So that's how I was able to get through these days. I would apply to 5 to 10 jobs, random apply. I would use LinkedIn. I would use Welcome to the Jungle. I would use JobRight.ai. I don't know if some of you've heard this. I've used ZipRecruiter. I've used Indeed, which I despise Indeed. Me personally, I'm sure a lot of you have had great outcomes with Indeed. I have not. I don't know why. I get all the scams. Everyone is like, hey, can I get your social? Here's your number. Or I'll just get a random text with, a bunch of other numbers included. And they're saying, we have this great job for data entry. I don't know how, but I've had the worst luck with Indeed. I hope none of you have. But LinkedIn has always been my bread and butter. I don't know why, because some people despise it the way I despise Indeed. I'm just going to say, use all of it. I applied in every place. Just because, even though you're seeing the same role, doesn't mean that since you applied here, doesn't mean you can't apply on this platform as well. I would recommend using all resources, all job platform, job boards to apply for these jobs. And then using the LLMs to cut your time in half, making sure that you have the right keywords for the role that you're applying for, and ensuring that it's structured very simply. I followed a method. A good friend of mine, he builds resumes for a living, and he's fairly successful. So I would do 3 or 4 bullet points per role. And you've probably heard this before: 1 page, 2 page max, 3 page. I wouldn't recommend 3 pages, just because if you put yourselves in the shoes of the hiring manager or whoever is whatever human is going to be reading your resume, just imagine they're a goldfish and they don't have an attention span. On top of they have 500 other resumes that they have to look at within a given time. So make it easy for them, make yourself stand out. I would also recommend don't put everything on your resume that you've touched. What I'm saying is, natively, I'm a front end developer. I transitioned slightly over to full stack development because I thought that's what the market wanted. I did more research using the LLMs, going online, speaking to some engineers that I know that are currently in the field making that money. And we're seeing that it's a very competitive market. I'm also just looking at the money as far as politics goes, and seeing what the news spits out, see if I can verify that. Um, and I'm seeing that it's just way too competitive. So you really have to stand out and understand these technologies at a very intimate level. So if you put everything hoping that someone's going to see, like, oh yeah, I have jQuery, I have JavaScript, I have Python, I have Java, I know C++, I know C Sharp, I do Figma. If you do all of these things, they might not look at you, even though you have all these things. If you intimately know these things, that's great. Then pick your top ones and make sure that you're applying to the role that can use these technologies that you put on your resume. Next, that was kind of like all over the place. I'm on medication right now, so my apologies. But next, we'll move on to some networking. This actually did help. Um, it didn't necessarily help me get a job, but it helped me keep my head from wanting to be ran through the wall. Um, just a show of reactions. How many of you are applying to jobs and you're getting either nothing or horrible answers back and you just want to give up? Just give me some emojis. Yeah, that's real. I need you to feel that now because I know exactly what that's. Yeah, feel it because it sucks. It sucks really bad. I'll keep it a buck with you. You're gonna have to find your people. You've heard that a lot, right? I don't even like using cliche statements like that, but it's true. I don't use LinkedIn like that unless I'm making a post about, hey, I just got a job or I'm updating. I use LinkedIn specifically for all the other hiring managers and all the other recruiters that are in the LinkedIn environment. I use Twitter. For me, I use Twitter because that's where I've built most of my community. Before I came over to the current role that I'm at now, I was in developer advocacy. So I went from front end development to developer advocacy to this. And that's where I built most of my community on Twitter. And I needed that. I've known a lot of individuals in the space who can share the same sentiment as me, who could share the same sentiment. They've been punched in the face, they've been kicked in the gut, they've been kicked when they're down, they've been spit on. I still get messages to this day of recruiters were sending me rejection emails, and they have not read the email, and it still says input person's name in the actual in the body of the email. And so if you're getting that now, I understand it very well. So when I say network, yes, network and make sure that you're showing publicly. This is a cliche statement, but it's real. Show in public what you're learning. Before I got this job, I was showing that this is what I'm working with in Superbase. This is the error that I have. This is my gap in knowledge that I'm publicly sharing with the world that I'm actively looking to fill. And then I'll come out with a post another day or another week saying, I filled that gap of knowledge. Look what I've done. Did it get me a job? No, but it gave my community something to lean on if a job did appear. So I was preparing myself on that front. I wasn't expecting a job from there. I was just making the habit of, this is what's happening. This is what I'm doing. Here's me. And if people receive that, because it helped me mentally speaking as I was applying, because they're not going to apply for me. They're not going to do any of this for me. But what they can do is give me words of wisdom and help me and direct my path if I'm veering off too far to the left or too far to the right. This is what I mean by proper networking. Another thing is that if you have that option, I strongly implore you, show up in person. It's nice if you make these virtual meetups, it's cool. But if you can go in person, that is a world's difference. Why is it a world's difference? Why do I have to get up out of my comfortable space after I've spent 6 hours applying and studying and doing this and doing that and doing these free tasks just to get experience? Why do I have to go here? Well, I'll tell you why. because they can feel who you are. They can feel the Rob. They can feel the Jacob. They can feel that, oh, okay, you kind of don't know this, but you know this, and this is great. And you can have these conversations. So now they not only know the name, they have the face, they put the name, and then all of a sudden, they might just call you. None of this is a guarantee. But if you're trying to get a job, my motto is always leave no stone unturned. Go out there and show yourself. Even if someone wants to talk about you, it doesn't really matter. And I have to say that because it's a real thing. People are pretty snarky now. We have LLMs, and they'll call you on your BS if you're just writing the LLM and you're not really understanding what the actual answer is. If you're throwing slop together, yes. So you actually have to know it. And so my next point is, let's see, what is my next point? Yeah, my next point is when you're using these LLMs, make sure you're actually reading the prompts that are coming back to you. I would highly recommend that when you look at these job descriptions, you could probably get a lot more, I guess you can say, a lot more traction if you look at the job descriptions and filter out for AI related roles. Because we're seeing, for example, Netflix. This used to be a dream company I wanted to work at. They only hire seniors. Their salaries, if you're curious, range between 300,000 and 900,000. That's a real number. You can look it up. They used to be one of the places I really wanted to work. Come to find out, they use AI to write about 95% of their code. Google's the same way. You've probably seen all the newsletters. You've seen all the articles. All these major tech firms are using AI to write their code because it's no longer about can you code. It's 100. I can say this, and I can stand on it, and I'll put my life on it. It's 100% about your ability to comprehend what the problem is, utilize the tool that is the LLM, and create a solution. If you can understand the solution that the LLM spits out to you, then you can know that, oh, this is garbage. Reprompt, reiterate, and then apply the solution that you know will work based off the technologies. Because all the LLM is doing is basically just querying different databases. It's scrubbing different sites. It's going directly to the docs. So you don't have to go into the docs. The last thing you want to do is have to spend 3 or 4 hours understanding something, sifting and filtering through the documentation that will take you ages to get through, let alone comprehend if it's super dense. I'm sure a lot of you are killers in here. So for me, it takes me a little bit longer to comprehend certain things. I have to ask a few more questions. I have to read things in a different way. But if I leverage the LLM in the way that it should be leveraged to cut my learning in half, well, then I can ask it to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. I don't know if you've tried that. I'm sure you have. But I would recommend it if you haven't. Explain it to me like I'm 5. Explain it to me like I'm 10. Or if you're, I don't know, really, really intelligent, explain it to me like I'm in high school. Whatever you want. But this is how I recommend you use the LLMs to cut your learning in half. So that way, when someone asks you, when you go to these meetups, hey, how'd you build this thing? You don't just say, I did. Look, it goes. Now you can get in depth and get intimate because no matter what anyone tells you, if you're vibe coding, right, that's the term, right? And it started out as being a frowned upon term. Now it's a term that can make you money, real money, not just monopoly money. Then you can be proud of the fact that I used the LLM to cut my time in half. I understand Tailwind, I understand the UI, I understand what this error is. I understand that I need to make sure that my backend server is spun up for me to actually run my front end. So this is what I recommend to you. When you're using these LLMs, make sure you're looking at the actual solutions it's giving you. That way you won't be caught with your pants down when someone's like, what did you build? You don't know. And then you've turned a first impression into a bad impression. I can say this from experience because I've made myself look like a complete idiot before. Sidebar, I'd made myself look like a complete idiot on my job. And I've been here for about 3 weeks. How'd you do that, Lewis? You're the one giving us a tech talk. I didn't take my own advice. More about that later in your next episode. But, I mean, I'm here now. So, during this process of me going through the ups and downs of applying for jobs, I actually did get a job before this one. And I got there, I went through their interview. It was at HubSpot. It was at Beyond Finance for customer service because I told you I was applying to everything. I left no stone unturned. I just had to stay home because I had to be with my sons. And also at PointClickCare. PointClickCare was the role that I implemented strategic applying for. My brother works at the previous company that I worked at. I used to work at, just before the role here, I used to work at a place called Teachstone. I don't know if any of you have heard about it. Probably not, unless you're in the education space. It's basically a tech education platform. They don't really call themselves that, but that's what they are. And I was on the customer service team. The original plan was I get on the customer service team, and then I have my brother come in with me, because if there's a role open, he comes in, and then we both do a really good job, and we both take over the engineering side. It kind of worked like that. I went on the customer service side, then they had a role open. I introduced his resume. They hired him. The networking part, there you go, if the bells are going off. And then he was able to get to the engineering side, but they blocked me. I don't really know why. It was a lot of red tape. So that was the original plan. So I stayed on the CS side, the customer service side. I couldn't do it anymore. And so I left and he stayed. And so we still built a lot of stuff. I still had to continue my learning because I knew this is what I wanted to do. And that just goes, that's one point right there. I had no job for an extended period of time because I had to leave it so I could learn more things. Your situation might not, and I'm trying not to get sidetracked, your situation might not be the same where you have that opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to leave my job so I can really focus on this and really give myself this opportunity to dive into really making this thing happen, this whole tech journey, this whole tech career. My wife was the main breadwinner. And so with her doing that, her sustained income allowed me to spend even more time in my home office and even more time behind the screen. And so when I was doing all of this applying, because his role currently is team lead on the AI team over at Teachstone. This is something that I've always wanted to do. Well, not always wanted to, obviously not, but it's something that I know I can do because I use the LLMs every day. And I know that I can understand it from a technical level, also a non-technical level, depending on what the role is. Because there are lots of roles that use AI, but you have to understand through the job description. And I guess if you can, talk to people that work at this company, whatever company you're looking at what capacity they're using the LLMs. So I saw the role at PointClickCare while I'm simultaneously applying to, Beyond Finance and HubSpot. I'm asking, hey, look at this job description and tell me if it's related to what you do. He's like, this is the same job I do. This is a perfect job. And prior to that, I was already knee deep in understanding how to get the most out of the LLMs that I'm using. And so when HubSpot called me back saying, hey, we want to interview you, I was surprised, right? Because it's HubSpot, massive company. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. A lot of companies use them. And then Beyond Finance, they do debt consolidation. I wouldn't recommend debt consolidation, but we're not here for that. But it was a job. So I had HubSpot and Beyond Finance on the line. Like, hey, we'd love to talk to you. We want to know, can we get an interview set up? And I'm just thinking, I want tech, but I need a job and it's remote. This is what I want. Again, I'm just trying to get a job. So I'm going through their processes, and then I get a email from PointClickCare, the job that I actually wanted. This is the one that I actually took the job description. I picked the right resume. And again, I reiterate, I have a folder for front-end development, back-end development, full-stack development, prompt engineering, customer service, technical support, technical analyst. I think I have one for data science. I have one for DevOps because I took like a week to try to learn DevOps. That's impossible. But I mean, there was a job there. I mean, the list goes on. I have a folder for that. And I have in those folders, I have a lot of resumes that are in there. So I took the resume that most fit the job description that I ran through the LLM, and then I filled it with the right keywords. Because at the end of the day, you just need to get through the ATS. Get through the ATS to get to a human. Once the human touches you, then you can be you. That's it. That's my experience. And so now I have 3 roles. They're like, hey, can we interview you? And I'm thinking to myself, this is happening in October. So, and this is going to get into my final point for now, I guess. How am I going to balance all of this? It doesn't matter. I'm just going to have to figure it out. So I'm talking to the LLM as if I've personified the LLM at this point. I'm going in my project, hey, we got these jobs. What are we going to do? And then I'm preparing for all of these roles, for HubSpot, for Beyond Finance, for PointClickCare. And here again, leveraging the AI to help me better understand these roles, better understand these companies, so I don't screw myself out of a job. I go through all of the processes. The first 2 that responded back, obviously, are the customer service roles. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to reject me or not. And I'm referring to PointClickCare, but I'm going to take these other jobs. And so I go through the process for HubSpot and for Beyond Finance, seeing who's going to take me first because I need a job. Rent's coming up. Even then, we might be late, but at least I'll have a job. And so then PointClickCare gets back like, hey, we set you up for your first interview. Good to go. And so now I'm going through their process as well. So I'm going through all of these simultaneously, trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? I really want this one. I want the one at PointClickCare. How do I stand out the most? Leveraging the AI to making sure that I'm saying the right things. But it all comes down to, I've also interviewed a lot. Just by the example I've given you, you're going to really suck at interviews if you're not interviewing enough. So if you're used to following chaotic talks, this is one of them because I've been sick and I haven't been able to prepare effectively. So my sincerest apologies. Try to put this together. Apply for all these jobs. If you have to put it together, apply for the job strategically. Pin randoms using the resume that best fits. Boom, boom, boom. 5 strategic. You know it. The LLM has critiqued your resume. You've hit it. My resume it builds to this one. I put in the right keywords. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. What you want is data. The data is, how do I interview the best? Because if you haven't interviewed, and I figured this out the hard way too, during the very first interview before any of these companies I just mentioned, if you have not interviewed, you will suck at it. Unless you're a naturally good talker, you're a naturally good presenter, a naturally good seller, so to speak. You're selling yourself, that's all you're doing. You need to fail. And it's really going to suck, and you might cry because I can't tell you how many times I've cried to my wife like, "Hey, I screwed that interview up," and I have numerous stories of how I screwed up interviews. So you need to apply not only the 5 randoms, but you're still using a resume that is somewhat viable for the role. But you're also, or 5 to 10 roles that are kind of random, but also you're strategically applying with the roles that you actually want for a resume that you've also prepared. So this way you can get these interviews, whether you want the job or not. You need money nonetheless. And that's the thing me and my wife talk about a lot. That's what I rack my head around when I'm, up at 12 and 2 in the morning, just thinking, how do I get money? You need the data or you're going to fail the interview. And so the only reason I can say, one of the few reasons I can say that I ended up getting through the rounds at PointClickCare, and if you want to know that process, then I guess we can talk about that, was the fact that I had already been going through other interviews. I had already been asked similar questions for similar roles, or roles that are not similar or not even remotely close to them, but similar questions that I was confident in answering at a more technical level for this company. Is everyone following me so far? Again, my sincerest apologies. Usually I talk better. Cool. I appreciate the emojis. They help me because, I'm sorry, my body wants to shut down a little bit. But this is how I've been able to create what I've created now. Before I ask everyone the question, these are my points. I'll go through them one more time. Don't have a long resume. I would recommend against it. Don't have your picture in your resume. Have a resume that's built in Word. Basically, your most recent job, we know how it goes. Most recent, second, third, fourth, blah, blah, blah. You can have an objective or summary at the top. Some say no, some say yes. You can do this, use the LLM, search online, you can see which one works. But have a resume that's ATS friendly. That's the first one. Proper networking would be, I guess, be my second. Even if you can't get a job with them, you need someone that's going to be like, hey, it's okay. I can't tell you how many times people have texted me who are in the field now. They're like, hey, let me talk to you. You good? You straight? And I've cried. I've cried so much because I'm getting punched in the face, and the bills are like, we don't care. Right? Of course, my son looks at me like, I love you. What's wrong? And I'm not going to tell him. Right? My wife's like, I love you. I'm not going to tell her, but she knows. Right? And I needed that. Now I know many people who have had roles, handed to them because someone knew them. So if you were in the position of a hiring manager, and you probably would or you probably wouldn't, and somebody and they're skilled and you saw them physically and you like the vibe, like, hey, I can work with this person. You're probably going to go with that person versus the person that just submitted their resume through the hiring system. To be completely fair, that's how it works. The market's completely different. So that was resumes, proper networking, leveraging the LLMs. Make sure that when you have your resume, because you're going to need a lot of them, make sure you're using these resumes, upload it to the LLM, create your project so it doesn't get lost in all your chats. Create your project, upload your resume, whichever resume you feel is already, this is fairly decent for this role I really want to apply to, or even it's okay because I'm going to use this resume to mass apply to roles similar to the one that I'm already applying to, and then give it the job description. Prompt it accurately. Hey, give me the keywords I need to update this resume. Search online to verify that these keywords that I'm adding to my resume are effective for today's job market. This is what I would recommend. Proper networking. I'm sorry. Resume, making sure it's simple. Proper networking, like being out there in person, and then creating your tribe, and then leveraging the AI to cut your time in half, so you don't have to spend 6 hours, writing a resume again and again and again, because AI will do it so much faster. You just have to review it. These are my 3 biggest points that I can say. I'm going to look at the chat real quick. I didn't want to distract myself. That's why I didn't open it. Oh, it's a big chat, actually. All right, let me wrap this up, and then I'll get to here, and then we'll ask questions and stuff. So now I'll get to the part of how I got to this role. I looked at the current landscape of the tech space, including all the layoffs. I had no desire to go to any of the big tech firms, no Microsoft, even though I have to use it on a daily basis. But I did know AI was hot, real hot, like spicy. And then I figured out through the use of AI, okay, and then reading more articles and talking to more people in the space, it's not about can you code, but can you read the code? Because people want you to use the AI for velocity. My specific example is where I currently work now at PointClickCare. I'm one of their AI systems developers. And the VP himself said, what we want for the person in this role is we don't want to lay off. Because I asked him, hey, so you're not trying to lay people off? That was a real question I asked, because I've become pretty comfortable in interviews now. I'm going to ask you these questions because everyone's laying off. Why are you not? And so he's like, we want someone to empower. We want someone to empower our current employees. And this company has like over 2,000 employees with AI. And so they've gone at great lengths to provide everybody in the company, which is crazy, it's really expensive, use of Microsoft 365. So everyone can use Copilot. If you're using Copilot now, that's great. Then you should probably know that Copilot's not the best or the brightest, but it's very usable for certain tasks that you give it. So I'm not going to knock it, but I would not recommend it as your first. But that's what he wanted. And so that's my verification. They no longer want you to know it. Like, yeah, I can build it. It'll take me some time, but I can do it. And I know it intimately. I don't need to do much. They want to know, can you use the AI tool to cut time in half? Because they want money. At the end of the day, they want money. How quickly can we go from no money to some money using AI? And how can we make AI make us more money? So we're in that space now. It's kind of like a gold rush. And so that's how I was able to leverage my resume building and my interviews and my past projects, because I had also been a part of a project that raised 3.2 million. The company ended up going belly up because the CEO was reported to the Department of Labor. So I guess at the time it sucked, but it actually worked out because that's the one thing that really got their attention. And if you want to know more about that, we can talk about that later. But that is how I got here. Uh, I used the LLMs to show that I can go from 0 to 1 really quickly, and I can iterate and understood how to figure out the answer myself. And that's how I ended up as a AI systems developer at PointClickCare. I'd have to say the interview process, and because not every tech firm is the same, the interview process was really straightforward. And a bonus point, if you're applying, if you follow tech firms, they go by quarters, or most companies go by quarters. I implore you to get ready at quarter 1 and quarter 2. So all your studying, critiquing your resumes, building your resume portfolio, building your portfolio as an engineer, do that in Q1 and Q2. Start applying in Q3, and you'll start hearing back in Q4. I just learned that now, actually, just last year, because there's headcount and they're reviewing their budget. And so some people just apply. I was applying at 10 at night, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 8 in the morning. I was just applying, not randomly, but I was looking at the job description. Some roles I threw away. But that is the bonus point I'd recommend. Timing your applications and your study time off of the quarters. You'll have a higher chance of getting an interview. Okay, so I think that's all of that. I'll open the chat now. Oops.
I can help you with the questions, Louis, so you can let yourself rest for a little while. I'll read the questions for you.
Cool.
All right.
And then my question to everybody is, if you haven't answered, how are you using AI today? And I'd love to see those answers. And I'll put my contact in the chat as well.
All right. So everyone, please do drop in the chat your answer to Louis's question. All right. Ready for the first question?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Here's my LinkedIn. I'd get my Twitter, but I think I'm more likely to answer this first. But yeah, what's the first question?
All right. First question from Jacob. Do you have 1 or 2 references that you would suggest that provide professional AI skills? This is in addition to the Tech Academy course.
Do you have 1 or 2 references that you skills? Yeah, I would just, because a lot of them you have to pay for. Deep learning.ai is really good if you have the money. So you can get very, very technical, very in-depth. So that's deep learning.ai. I think that's it, right? Deep learning is a good one. And who do I like? I like Pluralsight. We have access to Pluralsight where I work. Pluralsight's good. There's actually a lot of resources. So I can't necessarily narrow them down because I myself use a lot of them. But I would start with deeplearning.ai. I would also go to YouTube, and then I would also leverage the LLM to tell you, like, hey, can we search on what is the most effective platforms I can leverage to build AI skills. And then also in your job search, I would also recommend, Jacob, look at the job descriptions. If you're looking at AI specific roles, which I highly recommend everyone do so, just because if you have AI on your resume, they're more than likely to look at you, because then they're probably going to think, and I can say this from experience, they're probably going to think in their heads, oh, this person probably works fast. This person probably likes to figure things out on their own. And this person probably knows enough where they can bring us value. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of companies that don't use AI to the fullest extent. And they're just now, I'll say it again, they're just now kind of getting on board of like, oh, we should probably use this to help save some money. I hope that answer is kind of beneficial to you.
All right. Moving on to the next question from John. How do you use ChatGPT and Claude together?
Oh, sick. Good question. Okay, John. I know a John. He's a good friend of mine. I got to go visit him. But um, in my development, and I learned this from my brother. This comes from him, trying and failing. We've noticed that chat will give us compromised code. And as far as development goes, we'll use chat to give us a high level overview of whatever complex problem that we have uh, that's involving programming. And we'll give that high level overview to Claude because we have seen through many, many prompts and a lot of experience with Claude and how it's giving us and returning us our answers and the code accuracy. We'll give that the high level overview, and then Claude is able to execute based off of that. Now, if you want to do this as far as job search, low level task, I feel more comfortable with chat because chat has same access to scrubbing the interwebs as Claude does. And so I can give chat that. As far as job searching goes, chat, GPT, and Claude do like the same thing. I personally pay for Claude out of my own money. I was doing that before I got a job. That's one of the things I invested in. But I just noticed based off of the prompts that I get back from chat, GPT, and Claude, Claude is a bit more detailed and is a bit more fine-tuned in its output to me based off of my input to it. I hope that answers your question. It's probably not a good answer. I hope it is, though.
I think that's well answered for the question. But next question, again from Jacob. Could you describe your skills right now? And he also mentioned that for me, I also worry about my education. I can do a free lead code, easy questions, but would fail a whiteboard or paired programming sessions.
So my skills right now, um, fairly diverse. So again, it went from natively front-end developer to uh, a wannabe full-stack developer because I know a real full-stack developer, and it's pretty insane. I'm not bald because I want to. Okay, let's put it that way. But my skills now include a lot of AI. So let's base it off of where I currently work. What I currently do is I build automations using Power Automate, Copilot Studio. I build Power Apps, and I fix a lot of stuff internally with AI at the company I work. So that's me saying it really simply because I don't have to go any more complex. I literally have a job that pays me to use AI. You want me to tell you straight? I have a job that pays me really well to use AI. A lot of prayer went into that, and a lot of studying went into that. And in leveraging what quarter are they applying? Like, when are they going to start doing headcount? What do they really need? And being very quick to have a resume that's ready and have enough experience in interviewing to make sure that I'm not going to say a bunch of crap. I would also recommend to everybody in the room when you're interviewing, less is more. I've learned that the hard way. Talk a little bit. If they ask you a question, don't talk yourself out of the job. I've done this millions of times, and I kick myself in the rear end a lot. If they ask you a technical question, it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. One of the questions that was asked to me in my very last round was, why should we work for you? I don't know if any of you have heard of that before at a job, but he literally asked me, the VP was like, hey, why should we hire you? In my mind, before I answered, and I was looking him dead in the virtual eye, why are you asking me this stupid question? But I answered it, and I gave him the most upfront answer I could. Basically, I said, I don't know everything. You probably are going to interview somebody that knows everything you need. But when you hire me, I've done this for free. I've done it for free for way too long. So you're getting somebody that's not only done it for free, but that's going to do it once you enable this person with all the tools that they need. So if I've done it for free, how much more if you just pay me? That's basically my answer. Now I have the job. It doesn't work with a lot of people. Okay, that's just me. But I have that experience. So, and the second part, and I hope I answered your first question. That's literally it. Lots of AI. and lots of curiosity. I use AI all day, every day. I have access to Copilot, and I already told you my opinion on Copilot. And I pay for Claude, and I use ChatGPT because it helps me to get from O to 1 very quickly. For me, I also worry about my education. I can do free LeetCode. I don't recommend against LeetCode. If you want to get to the big five, you need LeetCode. It sucks. I hate it. It's horrible. I'd recommend about an hour a day. The easy, get really good at the easy, because at the end of the day, that is memorization. You're just memorizing patterns. But you have to take it a step further if you want to step outside, because that won't guarantee you a job. One of my closest friends, about 3 houses up, he was a VP of engineering for something, but he recently was at Google and Uber, and he despises LeetCode. He'll study LeetCode for a month, get the job, and then he'll forget LeetCode the first day he starts because that's how unimportant it is to him. But if you're studying LeetCode, be intentional about it. Don't just let chat do it for you. Look at your solutions. Don't try to recite it, try to break it yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you could describe your solution the way that they want you to describe it, which is how efficient can you be, that's great. But going further, they want to know, can you make them money? And so that comes from, what have you built? What applications have you deployed? Do you have any apps? Do you have a portfolio where people are actually using it? This is what's going to move the needle. I can say that from experience, because I was going to throw myself into LeetCode months, years ago. And then my brother's like, I'll punch you in your face. This is a horrible idea. You're going to die. And he's right. I was going to die because LeetCode is really hard, actually, to me. But that's what I would recommend. That's a long answer to a short question. I hope I answered it well.
All right. Next one is from John again. Do you use both Claude and ChatGPT together for the same job application?
Yeah. If you could, if you want to. It really doesn't matter, because both have the ability to give you the keywords. My recommendation would be experiment. So not only can you get better relationship with the utilization of the tools, but you can see, okay, chat gives me this answer, Claude gives me this answer. If I give Claude chat's answer and I give chat Claude's answer, let's see how they like each other's answers. You can compare them to, because they'll give you opinions about the answers they'll give. It's funny. But for my job in particular, I just use ChatGPT. I built just created a project, and I have a whole project just for resumes, and that's all I did, because they both have access to creating keywords. So you can use both or use one. I use both when it's to program, because I don't, because the context window is only so large, but Claude has gotten really good, and so has ChatGPT, at expanding their context window, so you can give it a lot of data. You just have to be careful when you give it that data, because then it increases the chances of hallucination. So you'll notice, because it'll start giving you gobbledygook. So I'd recommend restart a new chat if your context window is too large. So it's basically a fresh set of eyes. You can think of it that way if you want to personify it. Yeah.
All right.
Questions?
All right. This is from Darren. Hi, Darren. If full stack development is so diluted, then what is a good role to get started, foot in the door?
They're all diluted, unfortunately, to be honest, because you're competing against recent layoffs. You're competing against H-1B1 visas. You're competing against college graduates, and you're competing against other boot camp graduates. So to get your foot in the door, and you really want to be in tech, I'd have to lean on AI to help separate you from the rest of the pack. Believe it or not, you'll still see killers out there, what you might refer to as a 10x developer or a crack developer, who kind of don't like using AI, because they're more the traditional developers, and they're really intelligent, and they're very, very talented in what they do, but they like to poke holes in the AI and not necessarily leverage it because they look down on it for whatever reason. That's not everybody. Some cracked engineers swear by LLMs now, but not everybody. I follow a couple of them on Twitter. They're cracked and they work at Netflix, but um, that's what I would recommend. Leverage AI to the fullest, even if you can't get a developer role. And remember, I told you I applied to every single role: customer service, technical support, you name it. I tried to be whatever the job description wanted. I would recommend just lifting every rock. But yes, if you want to get in tech, highly recommend AI. How can you make their lives easier, and how can you bring something to the table with AI that maybe they've seen but haven't seen the way you do it, or haven't seen it all and you're just bringing to the table and speaking their language, which is money. Kind of like a broad answer. I'm sorry.
All right. And then sorry, another question from Darren, which is I think a good one. Um, where are some reputable places to find contract work to build up your project portfolio?
Your nearest small mom and pop shop. Small businesses are needed. That's not a joke. I'm not saying that because you see it on ABC or CNN, but where I live, there's a lot of small mom and pop shops. If you live in a small town or a big city, doesn't matter. There's a small mom and pop shop somewhere. There's somebody that owns it that don't like technology. They like it, but they don't really like it the way they need to like it to make more money. And I promise you, don't waste your money on all these courses you see on YouTube of people deploying all these bots. Like, you can use the LLM to expand your education on how to implement some of these strategies that you might see on social media, but really just be a person and then go ask. Because that's what I did. Uh, the Worm Connect, who our kids played, he's like, hey, I got a buddy of mine. Because I had called him. I was walking on the beach one day and I was crying. I was like, bro, I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna walk into this water and never walk out of it. You want me to be vulnerable? Let's be vulnerable. So he's like, hey, I don't have any work for you. I know you were in the military. I could send you to Haiti because I need some security work. And if any of you know about Haiti, I watched a whole documentary on it. Don't go to Haiti. It breaks my heart, but don't go to Haiti. It's pretty bad. And I did not want to do security over there because I probably wouldn't be here today, to be completely honest. But he's like, hey, I got somebody else that worked at Toronto Police. He might have something. So I'm like, I was already nervous, right? Because I have never done contract work before. So my mind is already telling me you can't do this because you can't even do leak code. That's literally what my mind was telling me. Um, so I called his friend up. His friend's like, yeah, this is my website. This website is garbage. I know enough to know that that is a capstone project, and that student didn't graduate very well. So just to look at the website, um, and so I'm like, how much you pay for this? I think he paid like 5K, 6K for something that any one of you in this room could have done with your eyes closed far better, guaranteed. This looked like he hired a team who upcharged him and gave him bare minimum. And so what I did was, I'm like, hey, you know what? I can build this for you. What do you want? I got all the context I needed and LLMs. I took all the notes and I told LLM, this is what I want. We need a backend. Do that. We need a database. Do that. He wants to do that. So don't do that. So basically, I'm working with the LLM to build this thing because it's just me. Um, and so that is what I would recommend, right? Just go out there and talk to people because you'd be very surprised. Again, I reiterate on the amount of people that don't know how to use these tools, who don't want to use them, right? Because to me, to you and me, it's probably really easy. Like, oh wow, LLM is nothing. I can do this with my eyes closed. But if you ask your grandma to, call you on your iPhone, she might not know what button to press. I can say that from experience because my grandmother, I bought her an iPhone and she doesn't know how to call me sometimes. So I don't know why I bought her an iPhone. But there's a lot of people that don't know how to use these tools. And if you go in there really nice and respectful and they're like, hey, you can really be of value to me, I guarantee you can I can almost guarantee you'll get something. Probably not the first of the few because people are weird, but you can get something. That's what I recommend.
All right. Next one is again from Jacob. Curious, what's your this changed my life workflow element of Claude Code? Is is it Ralph Loops, agents, or a well super owned Claude that dot MD?
This changes my life. Jacob, can you ask your question again in a different way? Or I'm just going to give it to the LLM and ask it. what you're asking me. This changes my life. Claude Code. What do you mean by workflow element of Claude Code? Like how I use it to in my daily activities? Is that what you are asking?
Or maybe the next question would be much more clearer because it's the same thing from Jacob. The other one is, did you have a Claude code, Claude.md in your repo that help you strategically apply to jobs? Probably that's a
Oh,
connection question.
if that's what you're asking, yeah, I didn't have any markdown files. I did give Claude some instructions on very basic instructions, and I gave ChatGPT very basic instructions as well in the settings, but I didn't use a markdown file. Um, I just gave it my whatever document type. So in my case, I just gave it a Word document and I let it store it in its memory, and then I went off of that. Um, and as far as I'm sorry, excuse me, that's the sickness. Um, sure, that markdown. All I did was I gave it my resume, and then I gave it the job description, and I compared against it. I try to keep it as simple as possible because I personally um, just didn't have the time to go into more of the technical workflow of how can I do this to kind of automate this whole system. So very simply, job description, resume, give it to the LLM. LLM gives me what I need back, and then I give it to whatever platform I'm applying to jobs on. But yeah, I mean, I can talk to you. Yeah, there's my LinkedIn. You can connect with me. We can have a nice conversation when I have the time um, on how I did it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I don't like my answer. I don't like my answer, but I hope it answers something.
All right. Last question from our attendee, from Robert. If you had a year of paid leave to focus on a specific tech skill, which one would you choose?
AI, 100%. Okay, yeah, I've said it a lot, right? And that's what the current market is. I'm going off of the market. The market dictates what you need to learn. Because, I mean, yeah, you can learn what you want. I highly recommend learn what you want. But on the other end, if you want some money, learn what the market wants you to learn, even if you don't like it, because you need some money. If you can have some money, then you have enough money to say, I want to do my thing. But if you don't have no money, and I'm speaking from experience just for me, if it don't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But if you have no money, you should go learn what they want you to learn so they can give you some money. So if I had a whole year to focus on one tech skill, yeah, how can I use AI? And depending on what role, if I wanted to be a researcher, I would definitely dive into machine learning um, and natural language processing and seeing how I can leverage that. Um, if if I was trying to do something else, AI has to be in it. I've talked to my brother before a lot. We're probably going to talk this evening about what's next, and we talk about it a lot. I don't know what's after AI because AI is kind of like the .com boom. Like a lot of people got a lot of money, and then a lot of people no money. But now this is the opportunity, and I'll be straight with everybody in this room. I got money because AI boom, money good. So and I like it. It makes sense because I like it because it's tech related. So AI and leverage. Maybe the next thing that comes after it is quantum computing. I don't know how we can do this at a more civilian level. That's so complex, but AI is how I can really extract as much value from that and apply it to this job market and separate myself. Because where I work, there's meetings on specifically what did you do with AI. There's whole AI communities globally on what they can do better. I'm reading this book called The Alignment Problem, Machine Learning and Human Values, which is very current in our current economy now. So I would just get educated on this quickly before this window closes, which I don't think it's going to close soon, no matter what the news says. It'll close, but it won't close now.
All right. We still have another one. Well, technically, two follow up question from Jacob from the other one. But first is from T. Maki. Was having an employment gap in the resume an issue to hires or interviewers?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm gonna tell you something. Let me drink some water. Tell you something. Um, if you have like an extended gap, in your resume because you're unemployed, um, you can either A, kind of finagle the numbers a little bit so it makes you look like you just stopped working, because it's hard to read the mind of a hiring manager because one, they'll either you have a gap in your employment. I don't like it. You haven't been able to find a job. That means no one wants you. That means I don't want you. It's kind of like if you're in a relationship with lady or boy, it doesn't matter. And all of a sudden it's like, why are you all talking to me? I got me somebody, but you're talking to me. It's kind of like hiring managers, unfortunately. So you can kind of finagle the numbers a little bit. I didn't have much of a gap. I had quit my last job back in July. Um, and that was the hardest thing I did, but I was free. My wife looked at me. She's like, "You look so happy," and I wasn't, and I was because number one, no more money, but number two, I don't have to begrudgingly think about Monday. Now I think about Monday. I don't even think about Monday. It's just I work. So I I had to finagle the numbers a little bit, and also figure out how I can add more experience. There's lots of, and I can show you my resume. If anybody wants to see it, I can show it to you. There's lots of companies on there that you've literally never heard of, which are only confined to a Discord server. I'll say it again. There's lots of companies on my resume that are confined to a Discord server. I don't know if they have an EIN. All I know is that that's their company, and I'm not going to question it because to the eyes of a hiring manager, you worked here. What did you do? They don't care where it came from. They see top level, high level. That's all they see. And can you deliver on what you said on that resume? That's all they care about. So I'm not going to say that the gap hurt me because I kind of finagled the numbers a little bit where it looked like I was taking a month off, um, just because I don't want them to think that. That is my answer to that. Was having an unemployment gap in the resume issue? No, it wasn't. The issue with, and to answer more directly, the issue with, you know, interviewers or hirers is, if they can even see you, you have to get through the ATS. If you can't get through the ATS, the robot that they have assigned, which is horrible. All companies use a really bad ATS, and I learned this the hard way too. So you have to have a good enough resume with keywords, not like pretty keywords for the role, and then you can get through the ATS. Once you get to the human, just go be yourself, T Mac. You go be yourself, Jacob. That's all they want because they don't have time to look at your resume. So the ATS is going to do it. Hope that answers your question. I
All
think I
right.
answered it.
Jacob has the follow-up question now. Um, with the first question that we do have earlier. What I'm asking for is were there any nuggets that you told Claude to have it personalized? I always hate how Claude makes everything so M dash and obfuscated.
Yeah, I did this with chat a lot. OpenAI's model is kind of weird, and I feel like they fell off the boat. It's probably because Sam is only thinking about money because he lied to everybody. But anyway, I always said no M dashes, and it would still give me M dashes. Um, I don't know what they've done with the model, but something about my interactions and my prompting with Claude is very basic. Um, well, my prompting is getting better, but basically when you prompt, we all know you give it more greater context. Don't give it too much. Give it the context that you need, um, and then go off of that. And if you have to start another window, but I don't know what they've done at Anthropic, but the way that the model that I'm using interacts with me, it'll use profanity. I don't know how because I never prompted it to. It will um, it'll it'll call me words, um, like words that you probably shouldn't say in public to other human beings. And it's the way that I don't know how this model is being trained, but it's being trained off of my interaction with it because of how it interacts with me. Um, it has nothing to do with personification or it's a person, but it's how my prompting has prompted it to respond to me. So keep using it, keep doing your research because I'm still learning more about these models myself and how to get the most out of them. Um, but a lot of things it's kind of returned to me. I have not prompted it to say or do, but it has done. So I guess it's one of those um, those situations where you can't really explain. It's kind of like a paradox, if I'm using that correctly. But we can talk about it and experiment together if you want. I'm cool with it.
All right. So that's what well Jacob said that's what I was looking for. Thank you. All right. Okay, I think we'll just let it we'll just let Lewis read Mike's message, but I do have one last question before we close the question and answer part. Since we're talking about AI and finding jobs, can we leverage AI to detect, ghost job posting? Because I think this has been a thing lately. I think even last year there has been ghost job posting. Can we leverage AI to detect some of it, or is it possible to be detected?
So if AI can look at the job description and the current role that you're looking at and see if it's a real job or not.
Mhm. Like if it's like existing or probably just a we can never detect a scam posting, but a ghost job posting probably.
I feel like you can if you prompt it correctly. If you give it the job description, you give it the company, and then ask it to do a search on and validate if this role is real, and see if it can scrub the internet and see, okay, this role is actually listed on their website. This is a real role that they're actually applying for. Because it's hard because we're seeing, and I've seen this a lot, and I'm sure everyone in this room has seen it. You'll you'll apply for a job, you see the company's real, you see the job, you see a human face, you see the name, and they're getting really sophisticated, and you think like, yeah, it's a real job, and then come to find out you get a reply saying, hey, fill out this questionnaire with all of your information for the answers to this question, and then we'll move you along in our interview process. They're not asking for an interview, they're not asking for you to schedule time, they're just saying fill out this questionnaire. That's a huge red flag. um, you can also, if you give it the job description, if you can't see it through the naked eye, you'll see that there's grammatical errors in the actual job description, in the emails that you might get back. So that's another way. But as far as it being able to determine if it's a ghost job or not, I don't. I personally don't know. That's just probably my lack of knowledge at this current moment. But it could probably do a search on whether the company is offering the role on their actual website, their company website, and then compare it against the job description and verify that way. Or it'll just look at the plain text and then see that, oh, why are they putting a period after their name in the signature? That's not how that works. And why do they just write the company name and not have a logo as their signature? Because we've noticed that real jobs have logos if you're actually talking to a real person.
Well, good point on that one. So it's also a good thought for our applicants and attendees here that who is currently in the job searching for job market right now. All right. Let me see if we still do have other questions, but I think not. And I will be letting Lewis rest for a while now. But again, everyone, thank you for joining us this week's Friday Tech Talk, and a huge thank you to our speaker, Lewis. And we'd love to have you back for another session in the future. And please do get well soon.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Um, any of you can connect with me, but I implore you, if because I know what it's like on that side. I was just over there. Um, I I implore you, just don't stop. Don't stop. It took me 3 years to get here. That's what I didn't say. It took me 3 whole years. I've had over, I've had a lot of rescinded offers because of where I live. Because states you make more money, and with the current political climate and the economic climate, how things are going, I didn't want to play with the border anymore. This role is located here in Toronto, but most of our customers are in the U.S. Right, so kind of works for me. But I implore you, just don't stop. Take as many breaks as you possibly can. Please, just take a break. Right. If you're like me, you probably stay up like, I hate my life. I I despise it and I want to be better, but I can't, and the world is against me. Whatever you're saying to yourself, it's all a lie. I will tell you now, Lewis Meyers, the dude that was literally on the same side as you, will say, you have everything that's needed. You have everything right there. You don't need to do nothing else but fill in the knowledge gaps and get more data experience data, whatever you want to call it, just get more of it. Get more interviews so you can be more comfortable. Because I guarantee you, yeah, I'm good at interviews. I know people that say these things. I'm great. And they get in the interview and they get asked the question and they swallow their foot and they're screwed. So I implore you, get more data. Whether you like the job or not, get data. Do well. So when you hang up, when you end that call, whether it's in person or virtual, you know, oh, I did really well that interview. Record your interview if you can. Like sometimes I'll put my phone, like during this process, I put my phone down and I put record, and then I went to the interview so my brother could listen to it, so I could listen to it. And I don't know you if you all do, but I hate hearing my own voice. But I listen to it because I want to see. Oh, I spoke too fast. Oh, I could have said this thing I didn't say. Oh, that's what they asked. Oh, just to get better for the next one. If you get this, the first shot is great. I hope it works the first time, everyone. I hope you go over there because I promise you, and I'll speak from experience, it's really nice over here. And I thought I couldn't do it because it took me 3 years, 3 years of staring at my wife and children. Like I told, Daddy's going to do it. Daddy's going to do it. And then, no, Daddy's going to do it. No, Daddy's going to do it. No. It sucked, right? I've wanted to walk in the water and never walk out. It is the worst feeling. Took one yes. You've heard it all over the. You probably know Danny Thompson. You probably know Leon Noel. You probably know all the big names in the space, and they're right. It just takes one. Because when we got the offer, I broke down and I thank God, and that was it. And now I'm here, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's what they pay me for, to figure it out. So far, they've thrown me into the lion's den. So if you ever need someone to speak to, there's my LinkedIn somewhere in the chat. It's in there. You can ask one of these wonderful hosts that we have here, or whatever. You know, it's in there. Connect with me. Let's talk. Because it sucks when you're by yourself. I've been there. I've wanted to not talk to anybody, but when you get vulnerable and you get honest with yourself, like, hey, am I good enough? You are, but do you have enough knowledge? Probably not, depending on what role you're trying to apply to. Let's be honest. It's not about you. It's about the knowledge here, because you're perfect. You're great. It's here. They want what's in here and how you can take here and make it real, make it money. Okay. Does that make sense, everybody? I hope it makes sense. Everyone stay cool. Well, don't stay cool. Stay warm. That's what I want to say. And if you ever need something, just reach out. Tech Academy is a good spot. Leverage the resources. I did, right? I told you that was my validation. I got my first offer because I went to Tech Academy. But yeah.
All right, let's take that deep into our hearts. It took one yes to everyone. Let's take note of that. But anyway, again, thank you so much, Lewis, for today. We
Thanks for having
really
me.
and truly appreciate this one. And to everyone here again, thank you so much for taking your time to attend and be with us on our Tech Talk. So be sure to keep a lookout for more live Tech Talks. All event details are already up on our Meetup account, so don't forget to check it out and save your spot. See you guys next time. Well, technically next week, same time, same channel. Thank you, everyone. Happy weekend and stay safe, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye, everyone.